Welcome to MapGrow, the RPG art show. My name is Kyle, and today we're looking at plants. I went out to a local park and did some nature drawing, and I suspect that the algorithm is not going to appreciate that very much, so if you would leave me some nice comments and hit that like button, it would really make me feel better. I've been drawing a lot of monsters recently, and I felt like I needed to refresh the palette. Nature is filled with perfect shapes that are informed not by composition needs, but by evolutionary needs and circumstance from a chaotic system. As a fantasy artist and cartographer, it's really important for me to always be looking back to nature, not just the decisions that somebody's digital photo makes when I search for things on Google, but also what I am seeing with my own two eyes. And as an artist, I must learn to look at the familiar until it becomes strange again. The first way to look at plants is from far away. I'm trying to look at the broader shapes that you might miss when you get closer. What are the shapes that are being cut against the sky? What are the shapes that are being cut out in betwixt all of the trees? Something I'm trying to capture in my sketch is how the bright gray dead trunks peek out from all the shadows in the leaves, and then it transitions to a dark silhouette against the blue sky. When I am drawing in nature, I don't bring earbuds or music or podcasts or anything. I try to just listen to the sound around me. I do this specifically because I am trying to become bored. I am trying to become so bored and understimulated that I look for things to entertain me. I observe things more closely. I kind of interpret what's around me in a different way if I'm not trying to block it all out. I love the way that John Dewey puts it in Art as an Experience. He says, "To meet in a strange country one who is a casual acquaintance at home may arouse the satisfaction so acute as to bring a thrill. To see, to perceive, is more than to recognize." In this passage, John Dewey is talking about art and what it does by recontextualizing normal experiences that we just kind of put in the waste bin of recognition. To perceive something, to really see it, is like meeting an old friend someplace you didn't expect to see them. This is kind of what I think that John Cage is talking about in one of his interviews when he is talking about the difference between two Coca-Cola bottles, two mass-produced containers that are designed to be identical. John Cage says, "If I look at a Coca-Cola bottle and then I look at another Coca-Cola bottle, I want to forget the first one in order to see the second Coca-Cola bottle as being original." And it is original because it's in a different position in space and time, and light is shining on it differently, and so no two Coca-Cola bottles are the same. As an illustrator, this is the only attitude that gets me through having to draw things like libraries or lots of floor tiles or lots of the same kind of feature over and over again, is to look for the little surprises, look for the little bits and parts to add character to see no two tufts of grass as the same. The second way to look at plants is to look at them nearby. You can pick out the individuals, the main actors on the stage. And I think this is really important and useful for cartographers to kind of learn the actors that you can cast in any given scene for any given purpose. What are all the different kinds of grass that you can bring in to add different kinds of color, different kinds of shapes, different textures, different values into your composition? It's so important not to just think of grass as grass, but a whole chorus working together in harmony, full of weeds, full of bugs, full of life and movement, and not just a big green wash. I start by marking out the basic stems to try to figure out who is jockeying for my attention first. And then I really try to zero in on an individual plant and see how the the shapes come together, how the stem breaks off and branches, and where the leaves grow out, and how much business is going on directly underneath all of the buds, and how many different life cycles of buds do I actually see on there? Are some of them yet to bloom? Are there some that are in blossom? Are there some withered? These are the things that I'm looking for, to try to look at a single weed and see it for all of its complex idioms. And when I have roughed in one of them, I move on to its neighbor, and I try to look for all of the differences. How is the stem different? Is it wavier? Does it have lots of little leaves instead of only a few big ones? Does this one flower at all? This really reminds me of when I used to practice music. This is basically like practicing your scales or a lick from a song over and over again until you learn how to do it cold. This kind of practice is supposed to be dry, but it is those building blocks that allow you to improvise and build on later. And when you build this kind of visual lexicon, you don't always have to go reaching for photo reference every time, because it's just knowledge that you have. It just happens at the table. But we're still looking at big shapes. We're still looking at big value changes. It's not until we move closer that we really get to know these plants for all of their intricacy. And that, of course, brings us to the third way of looking at plants real close. When we move very close to plants, especially weeds, there is an exquisite universe of uncountable details. Many kind of commercial or decorational flowers are chosen because they have very pleasing, elegant, broad shapes. But weeds are spiky, they're thorny, they're unfriendly, they're uninterested in being pretty. They are just full of all kinds of little things to look at. And this is what John Dewey is talking about, the difference between perception and recognition. When you say the word weed, you probably have a kind of thorny, leafy thing that grows in your lawn that you might tear out of your lawn. Perhaps the word weed, like any word, and it's an abbreviation, a truncation of the full experience. And as artists, we can ill afford such an abbreviation, because our versions, our simulacrum of the reality that we witness, that we encode into our art, is naturally going to be abbreviated and exaggerated and abstracted in some way. So we need high fidelity, high quality information in, and we only get that by looking closely and slowly at the world around us. One of the more prevalent and worse artist tips out there is draw every day. And that's kind of a waste of time, because if we don't take time as artists to reflect on what we're missing, then we don't know how to add to our process, how to grow. So drawing from life gives us not only exquisite details, but a point of comparison, a starting point as well. Another bad habit that artists can fall into is only drawing things that they're actually interested in. And this is a problem because it relies on kind of the instinct of taste. And as an artist, instinct is really, really excellent if you only need to do one thing over and over again. But if you need to change something, instinct will always fall short. This is why I just go to a normal public park to draw nature. I don't go down to the beautiful country. I stay close to home because A, it's more convenient, and B, I want to draw ordinary things. I want to find the interest, find the fun, find the things to learn from the things that are just around me. Because I find it much more valuable to my process to go looking for beauty where people might not expect it and bringing that into my work, as opposed to reiterating what everybody agrees is beautiful. The point of my drawing in this way is not to draw something and make a pretty picture, but to identify and gather the building blocks of exquisite illusion. And then I can bring that into my art, because I have practiced it. I think that will just about do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this calmer, slower paced episode as opposed to the more frenetic and frankly horrifying Building Better Monsters episodes I've been into. I'm getting ready to move to a new city to start a brand new teaching job that I'm very excited about, and I just needed to slow things down and put out a video that took a little bit less time than the last few have. So until next time, my friends, look at plants from far away, from nearby, and from very close up. Farewell.